All students deserve to be treated the same, and nowadays, with the future heading towards implementing more technology, it is important for all students to have equitable access. Students need to have access to current and emerging technologies and digital resources, including those with special needs, as well as teachers, staff, and school leaders. It is one thing to make sure that all students have a technological device, but most importantly is to make sure that all students have equitable access to technology implementation and participation that is available to meet learning and teaching goals. Having equitable access is important because technology has the potential to improve education experiences for disadvantaged students regardless of the availability. It is required that teachers have access to both the tools and skills to support the population of the entire classroom, but also for those students who have diverse learning needs, coming from Equitable Access 2021. However, there are challenges with the increase of integrating technology for students with disabilities. Since there is an increased emphasis on the need for teachers to acquire knowledge about technology to support instruction and students' learning, there is a lack of emphasis in teacher education programs to have the understanding of technology and assistive technologies. Pre-service and in-service teachers express a lack of knowledge of the uses of technology because of the lack of preparation. To increase the successfulness for technology implementation for students with disabilities, adequate training and ongoing support are necessary. As we are in a hybrid learning model, I use technology and assistive devices in my classroom daily to meet the needs of all my students. I have a very diverse classroom with 10 students having an IEP for multiple areas of concern, including specific learning disabilities in reading and/or math, speech language impairment, or occupational therapy. I also have one student who has a 504 plan and 7 students who are English language learners. Overall, about 80% of my class is performing below grade level in English and mathematics. Therefore, I need to be able to differentiate my instruction and make sure all students have equitable access to technology links and learning platforms. The way that I strive to meet the needs to all students is through multiple ways. First, all students in the district are assigned a Chromebook that they take to and from school every day. If they are learning at home that day, they sign on to Zoom and engage in synchronous learning, as I am teaching them the same content I am teaching the students in the classroom. Secondly, if students do not have strong internet, we have provided them with hotspots to be able to be engaged. Most importantly, all students have access to any link, program, or learning platform we are using at the time via Schoology, Pear Deck, Flipgrid, Padlet, etc. I always make sure that my students who are on Zoom are participating as well with answering on different forums to keep them actively engaged. I use Pear Deck for multiple reasons, but mostly because I am able to see who is engaged with the lesson and I can provide live feedback as we are working. As for Flipgrid, students use this tool to do their reread partner read during our shared reading block, and I am able to go back and listen to their reading fluency. Finally, we use Padlet for our discussion questions during shared reading so students have a place to put down their thoughts about comprehension questions that relate to the chapter we read that day. This way, everyone is accountable to type down their thoughts and share if they feel comfortable. We use this tool in place of turn and talk with partners during these times. As far as assistive technology within my classroom, I use text-to-speech with my students. Since a majority of my students are either ELL or have an IEP, I've instructed and guided them to highlight what they would like to be read to them, and a blue play button will come up, which is Capti Voice, and it will read anything to them. Another form of assistive technology that I use within my classroom is for one student in particular who has a cleft palate and has had many surgeries, so her voice is very soft and she reports that by the end of the day her throat is physically exhausted. Therefore, working with a speech language pathologist, we have implemented a personal voice amplifier that the student wears daily while in the classroom. This way, especially with masks on, she has a way to have her voice projected without straining her voice, and I'm able to hear her without having to have her repeat herself. Overall, making sure that all students have equitable access to websites being implemented for learning and teaching purposes is very important for student success and engagement.